A paramedic shares a powerful real-life encounter with a pregnant woman who refused hospital care, convinced that giving birth at home was the only natural choice.
Hi, I'm Abby. I'm 34 and I've been an EMT for almost 6 years. I see everything. Some call us when it's too late. Some out of panic when there's nothing serious. I'm used to force majeure at work. Believe me, it's hard to surprise me. But there is one trend that really scares me, and I, as a specialist, just can't keep quiet about it. This call still haunts me, although almost 3 months have passed. It was in the suburbs of Portland, Oregon. Late autumn, rain, cold grayness outside. We received a call, pregnant, contractions, refuses hospitalization, unstable condition. The coordinates, a house on the outskirts, almost by the forest. The house turned out to be dilapidated, all overgrown with moss and ivy. The door was opened by a girl, young, thin, with a huge belly and a hunted look. Barefoot in a long dark nightgown. Her hair was tangled, her face was pale. "I'm not going to the hospital," she said right away. "You don't understand. Doctors only cripple. They don't need my child. I'll give birth myself. That's how nature works." The first thing that caught my eye was that she didn't even know how far along she was. I asked, "When was your last period? Are you registered?" She shrugged. "I don't go to doctors. It's all business. A woman should give birth herself at home, like they used to do." It looked like she was in her 9th month, but I couldn't say for sure whether it was a premature birth. In addition, the patient had not been examined during her pregnancy, and we did not understand the position and condition of the child. All this meant only one thing: she needed to be taken to the maternity hospital immediately. I tried to speak calmly without pressure. But even then I noticed alarming symptoms. Ellie had pronounced swelling in her legs and hands, especially her fingers. They were like pads. Her face was slightly puffy, her forehead was shining with sweat. Her blood pressure was 158 to 105. Her pulse was rapid. She complained of a headache and a strange ripple in her eyes. These are all signs of preeclampsia, a potentially life-threatening condition. I tried to explain. "Ellie, with these indicators, it is very important to get to the hospital. You need to be monitored. This can be dangerous for both you and the baby." She interrupted. "They'll just interfere at the hospital. They'll do a cesarean section and inject me with all sorts of junk. I don't want strangers to touch my child." I contacted our head doctor anyway. He asked to speak to her in person. I turned on the speakerphone. He tried to explain calmly, professionally, what was happening to her body. But she irritably interrupted the conversation. "I didn't ask you. You're all enemies of nature. My child will be born at home as it should be. It's important to understand." Every word was difficult for the patient. She was almost exhausted. Then I asked why she called us. "I just wanted you to inject me with painkillers," she answered. "But we have to make sure that the child is okay before we can do anything." There was no one else in the house. She refused to answer questions about who would be with her, where her loved ones were, and so on, and from that moment on she became very aggressive towards me and my colleague. I knew that I couldn't insist any longer. The law is the law. We cannot hospitalize a patient without his consent if he is conscious and sane. I had only one thing left to do: issue an official refusal. I took out the form, read it out loud that she understood the possible consequences, and handed her a pen. She signed it. Her hand was shaking. Before leaving, I left her my number. I told her that if she got worse, she should call right away. And I got into the car and just sat there looking out the windshield without turning on the engine. It felt like I had just lost someone, although she was still alive. I don't know how that story ended. We have no right to track patients who refused help, although my heart still aches after that situation. However, given my mother's condition, it could have ended very badly. And I hate the law at these moments because I can't do anything. It's fashionable to give birth at home now. They say it's natural, spiritual, feminine. But I want to say, natural birth does not mean safe. Yes, for some, everything goes well. And some end up in intensive care, or don't end up there at all. If you are planning a home birth, please at least get examined, talk to doctors, learn about the risks. Because sometimes natural can end tragically. Don't get me wrong, I'm not against conscious choice. A woman has every right to decide where and how to give birth. Moreover, a home birth with a professional midwife and a ready-made plan in case of complications is one thing. But spontaneous birth without medical supervision, without prior observation, without understanding what exactly is happening in the body is something completely different. When you don't know how far along you are. When you haven't had a single ultrasound. When you don't take tests or measure your blood pressure. When you choose silence, suppositories and mantras instead of an emergency cesarean section that could save your life or the baby's. This is no longer about naturalness. This is about risk. I saw a woman who started bleeding heavily after a home birth. She was bleeding because no one nearby noticed the placental abruption in time. I held the hand of a woman who fainted from preeclampsia. She didn't even know she had high blood pressure because no one measured it. I visited a baby who wasn't breathing after a home birth. And never did again. Medicine is not the enemy. It's not antiseptics, IVs, or cold lamps. It's knowledge, experience, and reaction at a time when every second counts. It's an opportunity to help when nature suddenly decides that this time everything won't go according to plan. I don't judge. I understand the desire to make childbirth a special, warm, intimate event. I understand the distrust of the system of hospitals. And I know there are times when childbirth goes perfectly. Everything is fine. Everyone is happy. But I can't help but think about those who didn't have time to call an ambulance, who didn't have time to get there, who made a decision that they couldn't back out of. Choice is a right, but it should be conscious, not imposed by fashion, not dictated by fear of the system, but based on information, facts, and real medical knowledge. Sometimes, to save your life, yours and your baby's, you just need to admit, the maternity hospital is not a prison. It is a place where they want to help you. Where there is oxygen, blood, machines, surgeons. Where there is a chance. And when it comes to life, this is the only thing that really matters. Please do not romanticize childbirth. The birth of a new life is, without a doubt, wonderful, but it also carries certain risks for you and your child. In the past, people gave birth in the field not because it was so natural, but because there were no maternity hospitals. Turn on your critical thinking at least sometimes.